Hey, what's up, Mark? And anybody else who's found this. If you guys have watched all the videos up to this point, congrats. I think it's a lot of information. It took me years to get everything down, and I'm still don't have it down. Not all of it, anyway. I want to make a video on chords. It's a big deal when people pick up guitar. The first chords that they're introduced to, the C's and the D's and whatever, are chords of exactly that, of two different flavors, majors and minors. And with that in mind, when people go online knowing only that, and they look up whatever song that they want to learn, they'll find chords names that just seem really weird. Instead of seeing just G, they'll see G, but strangely it'll have a number next to it, like G7, or it'll say something like G add 9, GSUS 2. And I wanted to not go over every kind of chord and what it means, because that would take forever, but to kind of give you an understanding of what chords are and how to make them, so then you could just understand why chords are what they are, and have a better chance of figuring out what all those chords mean. Okay, so up to this point, we spent a lot of time talking about scales, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and the placements of the scales across the neck. And we spent time talking about knowing what notes are in every scale. When we talked about the circle of fifths, in the key of D, for example, what is the third note? It's F sharp. What's the fifth? It's A. And when you know what notes are in every scale, and you know them well, then you're in very strong position to then start thinking and understanding clearly about chords, because the notes that comprise a chord are directly related to the accompanying scale. Let's do all this in the key of C. C is the natural. Okay, so here, third fret on the A string right here. Sorry if you can't hear that. So if you know the scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So we know everything from 1 to 1, from 1 to all the way to the higher one. We know the numbers, and we know all the notes. We know the notes, and we know what numbers they correspond to. Now, knowing that all of this, now we can actually start making chords. And now here's the interesting thing, is that every chord, let's say for example just major, I don't think it's in tune, is that major, whenever you see something that just says major, E major, D major, blah, 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 forget the key, just that term, major and only major by itself. Major means, you can deconstruct the word major to mean 1, 3, and 5. Just like H2O in water, like water, H2O is 2 hydrogens and oxygen. 2 hydrogens and oxygen is water. It's not 2 hydrogens and oxygen make water. Not that like water is one thing and H2O is one other thing. No, they're the same thing. H2O is water. So in the same sense, 1, 3, and 5 is major. That is what major is. So when we say, I'm going to play a G major, I'm going to play a G major, I'm going to play an A flat major, what is that meaning? It's okay, let's say A flat. I'm playing an A flat major right now. A flat major scale, or the A flat scale, and then A flat major. What that means is that I am playing the 1, the 3, and the 5 of the A flat major scale. If you take the 1, the 3s, and the 5s and you play them together, that is the sound that we hear when we hear the major. Let's go back to G. We started with C, but let's do G. Yeah, this shit is not in tune. I don't know what the hell happened. I'm so sorry, guys. I should have tuned it before I started this video. So this is the chord that we all learn when we start out. They tell you that this is a G. So it's 3-2 open 3-3, right? They say this is G major. Well, I'm telling you now that major is 1-3-5, right? So we happen to be in the key. This is G, so we're in the key of G. What is the 1, the 3, and the 5 of G? It's a G. G is 1 always. The root is the 1. What is the 3 of G? It's a B. What's the 5 of G? D. GBD. GBD make up what is the 1, the 3, and the 5. So GBD is the major. It's G major. So if you have your chord on the guitar. So if you one by one look at the notes as what you're holding when you're playing that G major scale, you're saying, okay, that's a G, that's a B, open D, GBD. That's a G major chord right there. You can stop right there. That's already a major chord. That's G major. Now you have an open G on the 4th string, and then 3-3 in the end. 3 here, that's a C, and then 3 here, that's another G. So G, D, G. So you're kind of missing the 3rd there, but if you're playing this 3rd down here, that's enough to count as because you're playing the whole thing. So you're literally, it's 1, 3, 5, 1, 5, 1. God, that sounds awful, but that's what you're playing. So what are the other major chords that you're aware of? Let's say let's say here. Oh, that's your D, right? What's the 1, the 3, and the 5 of D? Well, the 1 in D is D. What's the 3 of D? It's F sharp. What's the 5th of D? D, F sharp. Oh, A. So they taught me that this is a D major. Now let's look at what the notes are. Well, 2nd fret of the E string. Oh, look at that. It's an F sharp. That's the 3rd. And then 3rd fret of the B. B, C, D. Oh, that's your D. That's your root. And then fret 2 of the G string. Oh, that's A. So here's your D. Here's your F sharp. Here's your A. So 1, 3, 5. That's why it's a major. So this relationship between major, or rather not relationship, but the deconstruction of the term major into its components, into the pieces, 1, 3, 5, that relationship between name of chord and notes of the scale that compose that chord, that relationship is true for every chord. Every chord that you've ever heard of, every chord that you've ever seen, always makes reference to the scale of whatever key that chord is in. Let's say something else. Like, we've been fucking with major this whole time. Excuse my language. Let's say, for example, what's a more exotic chord that some people have seen? Let's start talking about something else beside major. Let's say C. No, let's say you have a D7. D7. Well, here's your. If you look up the chord, it'll say this. 3-1-3. But what does that mean? D7. If you just see D and the number right next to it, what does that mean? Well, we talked about earlier that major means 1, 3, 5. Okay, straight down 1, 3, 5. That's what major is. So 7. What does that mean when you deconstruct it? Well, that means 1, 3, 5. But there's also an extra note, the 4th note. In this term, in this case, it'll be the flat 7. The flat 7. So in the key of D, what's the 7th note? It's C sharp. C sharp. Now, if you want to flat that, C sharp flat is just C natural. That's why here's your normal D. you're gonna take this D. There's your C sharp. Flat it again. There's your C natural, and then you put the rest of it back, and then you just play open D. So here's your D, here's your A. That's your 1 and 5, and then you're playing your C. That's the flat 7, and then you got F sharp, which is the third. So it's 1, 5, flat 7, 3. That's why that's a D7. That's why. So that same principle you can apply to any key. Let's say A. This is a A7 chord. Sorry, it's still out of tune. It's a pretty chord. So what did we say make up that chord? The 1, the 3, the 5, and the flat 7. So in the key of A, that would be your 1 is A, your 3 is C sharp, the 5th is E, and the flat 7, remember you want to flat it. What's the 7th note in the scale? It's G sharp. So you want to flat it, it's a G. So if you play this chord right here, which is your A major chord, but just lift the pinky off, and then look note for note what notes you're playing. Well, you have an A right here. You have your E right here. That's your 5th, and then you have a G right there. That's the flat 7. And then you have this note here, which is what? C sharp. There's your third. Then the 5th on E or B. There's another E, and then there's an A. So you have the 1, the 3, the 5, and the flat 7. So I think that's really enough. What we talked about major, and we talked about 7, right? We took those two examples and we deconstructed those chords into the parts of what make them up, or the parts from the scale of what make them up. So what you need to understand is that relationship exists for all chords. Like I just said. So, like for example, I'll just name a few because the video is starting to get long. Let's talk about more complex chords, like we've said, or let's say less common chords. Let's say we've seen sus, right? Sus. What the hell is that? It says, oh, E sus 2, E sus 4. We've only seen them come in those two flavors, sus 2 or sus 4. Well, what the hell does that mean? Again, major is 1, 3, 5, right? Sus 2. What is sus 2? Sus 2 is 1, 2, 5. That's what sus 2 means. What's a sus 4? You guessed it. The 1, the 4, and the 5. So if you're in the key of E, what's a E sus 2? Well, 1, 2, 5, right? What's the 1 in E? What's the 1 in it's E. What's the 2 in E? F sharp. What's the 5th? B. So if you can find a chord, if you can hit your E, if you can hit your F sharp, and you can hit see, even I have to think if you can hit the B. See, like here, let's just play a normal E major. Sorry, God, that kills me every time. So what you're gonna do is that you're gonna switch out the third for the 2 or for the 4, and depending on what you choose, you'll end up with the sus 2 or the sus 4. So what's the third in E? It's G sharp. Where's the G sharp that you're playing when you play your E sharp? It's right there, your index. So you're gonna switch out G sharp, which is the third, for the 4th. What's the 4th in the key of E? In the key of E, the 4th is A, right? So all you're gonna do is that you're gonna take that G sharp, you're gonna hit it up a fret, not G sharp, but make it A. So A, E major, but switch it out for an A. Now you're playing an E sus 4. Now that's what you're playing when you do that. If you could switch out, I couldn't switch out the G for the 2, for the F sharp, because I was at the bottom of the neck. Maybe there's other creative ways to do it, but then, to see, that's the fun, is that if you know what notes go into what chord, depending on what area of the neck that you're on, you can try to figure out what notes there are and try to make up the chord there. You see? So we talked about major. We talked about 7 chords, sus 2, sus 4. What else is there? There's a lot. There's a lot. There's 6 chords. E6. What is E6? It's the 1, the 3, the 5, and then 6. You can figure out. So that's E, G sharp, B. What's the 6th of E? C sharp. So you can play all those notes. You're playing an E6. There's E6 add 9, which is 1, 3, 5, 6, and then the added 9. 9 is the same as 2. So 9, what's the 9th note? The 9th note is the same as the 2 note, which is F sharp in the key of E. So if you want to play a E6 add 9, you'd be playing the 1, the 3, the 5, the 6, and then the 9, right? So that's E, G sharp, B, C sharp, F sharp. Those would be the notes to go in. And then keep going. Look up as many chords as you can. There's all kinds of nice chords that are not too crazy, and then there's the real exotic ones. The real nice ones is like major 7, we've already mentioned 6, major 9, but then you start messing, then you find out there's all these other chords like raised 5 and flat 9, C6 flat 9, C this and that flat 9, or whatever. No matter what exotic chord name you come across, just know that that chord name can be deconstructed into notes from the scale. And if you know the notes from the scale very well, you can know in your head what notes have to be played in order for you to successfully be playing that chord. And then once you have that down, then you got to look at the neck and then figure out where all these chords are. Sounds overwhelming, and maybe in some respects it kind of is, but when you practice it and you understand that chords can be shifted up and down, certain things fall into place, and then it's not as crazy as you think, but it is fun. I think it's fun. So that's my 20-minute long video. So my name is Eddie. It's been a while. I should have said this in the beginning. For anybody watching this video, anybody that I know or anybody that I don't know that found this video, if you've got any questions at all, leave it in the comments. Any questions at all, anything. There's no such thing as a dumb question. I will respond to everybody and help them as best as I can. I'm not at all an expert on guitar. I consider myself a very, very, very weak intermediate, meaning that I spend a lot of time with the theory, but I can't really play that well. So, but I know this part of the guitar pretty well, so I can. Whoever wants help with this, I'm more than willing to help. Guitar is a pretty time-consuming hobby, and so anything I can do to make it easier for people that want to get over this hurdle of this part with the theory. It's my pleasure. So any questions you have, leave it here. I'll get back to you as fast as I can. Thanks for tuning in, and maybe I'll make another one in the near future. Take it easy.